Good morning, Angry Bass fans, and an early morning it is. The question for today is, do you fish by the light of the full moon? And if not, maybe you should. All right, so right now I'm about 10 minutes in fishing. I'm on the north west shoreline. I'm facing east with the moonlight to my back. All right, so I'm just starting to throw the Booyah frog out there. Nice reaction bait, top water, and see if I can find an opportunist out there. So the only thing biting right now is the mosquitoes, but hopefully soon we'll have something a little bit more, again, more beneficial to show you. Well, not getting much luck here on the northwest corner on the top water popping frog. I'm going to move down a little bit farther west along the bank as the sun continues to slowly rise from the east and the moon is retreating behind me west. So I'm going to lose that backlight in a minute. So again, that'll keep the fish unawares as to where I'm standing on the bank. So I'm going to move down farther to my right, which is the western bank, and that'll be a little bit more darker in the corners there again where they can't see too well. I'm going to try to continue with the frog action, and once the light gets a little bit more prominent, then I may switch to the gambler Swimbait. All right, keep you posted. All right, so when I talk about parallel shoreline fishing, this is exactly what I mean. So I've got my black shin-high wading boots, so I can go out a few inches out into the water. So as I came out here, I stood back and I threw parallel in front of this little hole here, this little pocket. So be mindful of that whenever you see something like that along the shoreline. A big V swam out from just inside the mouth of that out toward the frog out that way. So they like to pull up in there and hide. They got the bank on each side of them so they feel secure, and they can come shooting straight out like an ambush. But this particular bass didn't want the frog. But that's what I mean. So you want to get out into the water after you've thrown in front of you where you're fishing. Make sure you clear out the area right near the bank, because a lot of them will swim out right there from in front of your feet, believe it or not, and you might miss a decent bass. So again, I've got a nice parallel shoreline. I can cast to my left. I can start fan casting in front of me, and I'll just slice it up into eighths. Okay, so 1/8 here, 2/8 here, 3/8, and so forth. Make sure you fish all the area in the grasses, because they're coming in and that's where they're hanging out to feed. So the dragonflies are starting to come out. I noticed some smaller bass nipping at them at the top, so that's a good sign. So like I said, just throw parallel here, just a few inches out here. It's about maybe a foot or two deep, and I don't know if you can see the top of this sign over here, just to give you an idea how much this water's come up. Yeah, it's right in the center of the screen there. Anyway, so I can focus it up for you. But right about there, there's like a little sign. All you can see is the top of it. That sign is 5 feet high, actually. And just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was actually standing in front of that sign fishing. So the water's just really come on strong here. Those lily pads out there, there was a sandbar in front of those. I was able to walk in front of those pads about 6 months ago before the rain started. So right now it's probably about 8 feet deep out there. So plenty of water in here. They're going to have a lot of shoreline here to bed this spring. So we'll be looking forward to that. So it'll be a good opportunity, because there'll be a lot of shallows up in here where 3 to 4 feet or less. So again, just parallel cast along the shore. Use all of your water real estate and take advantage of that, again, sunrise fishing. So in a little while, we'll switch the swim bait as they get a little bit more active. So hopefully they'll still feed. And I'm still looking to catch a decent one this morning for you. Hey, and I wanted to mention to you one advantage you have when you're up this close to shoreline and you got just a few inches of flooded grass like this. When you see movement in the water, you can actually follow the fish through the blades of grass. They'll actually bump it. And I was just following a bass out here to my left. I was teasing him with my frog, but he wouldn't go toward it. But I saw the top of its head come up, and he was just kind of scraping the top of the grass there. But you just follow the blades out until it gets too deep, but you can actually see them parting the grass as they go through there. And if you can get your lure out in front of them, far enough out in front and drag it in front of them, it might be of interest to them, and you get their attention without spooking them. You don't want to throw the lure on top of them. They'll generally run from that. But again, just use some timing and just being observant, and just again using what's available to you. Right now it's calm in the water. There's no wind blowing. So when you start seeing that grass part, more than likely it is a fish. All right, So use those clues to your advantage and just cast accordingly. All right, so I'm going to keep trying the frog here, and I'm going to start moving down a little bit more toward the western bank. There's a lot more grasses that are flooded out there, and there's a flooded pine tree out there I want to hit because there was a bass over there I caught last week. So we're going to still be on the bite, and hopefully they'll be on the bite. And I'm going to switch to that Gambler swim bait pretty soon once that sun gets up a little bit higher. All right, we'll keep you posted. Well, as I always say, patience plus persistency equals payoff. And right after the sun came up, about the last hour or so, I decided to pitch my Gambler swim bait between those two trees in the shade near the shoreline there, not even a foot deep of water. I'm standing in the same depth right now. Caught this nice 3-pounder. Check this out. Vicious strike in that Gambler too, boy. Did not waste any time getting that bait. Put up a good fight too. So what you see is pretty water here. It's clear, and this flooded grass field here by the shoreline. So like I say, I just do shoreline fishing, and this thing was just waiting up there, waiting to ambush anything that's going to swim between those two trees in the shade. So you got to take advantage of your parallel fishing. So I just threw it straight parallel to where it was at. Again, less than a foot of water, using the swim bait, which mimics their natural forage. And you can see very lively fish here. I'm going to pick him up here and get a better look at it. Hold on one second. All right, and as you guys can see, it's a nice hefty fish here. Perfect fish you want to catch an artificial swim bait. Caught this fish unawares. You know, it's funny, I threw a couple casts under there a few minutes ago. It didn't take it, but I threw it a little bit closer to that tree to the left, and he must have been just waiting right up underneath that branch. But anyway, he nailed that swim bait hard, and was a good, nice reel in there. So, and just throwing a 50-pound Power Pro braid, light green, so it's nearly invisible in that water because all the grass is green underneath anyway. So it was pretty well camouflaged, and I wasn't going to take any chances if I got hung up in any tree limbs or, you know, grass strands and weeds. So just want to make sure I could pull this fish in. So it's a nice hefty fish. Yeah, good 3-pounder. I haven't caught a 3-pounder plus on a swim bait in a while. Just waiting for them to get more active in the summer, which they are now. So it's last weekend of August 2018. So they're down here at Lake Florence. As you can see, the sun is already well above. So I switched from the topwater frog bite down to the swim bait. So that's what they're attacking. So I want to keep it up and see what else we can pick up here. All right, so now I've moved on the complete southwest corner of the lake. Right, there's some private property there where the tree line is. So as you can see here, where the water's flooded up all the way up through the grass here, that pole there, by the way, is supposed to be about 5 foot tall. You can see there's only maybe a couple feet of that exposed, so that tells me that's about at least 3 foot of depth. All right, so that's good, ideal depth there. And the fact is, you got that minor little canal between the grass field and where that lily pad is. There's a little bit of a drop off out there. So you got bass that are going to be holed up underneath those pads, you know, getting out of the sun. And also they'll come out into the grass field right across that canal to feed. So a good strategy would be to toss it out there across that pad field with a top water or some sort of a weedless, you know, like a drop shot type bait or punching bait would be good. And then work your way back toward the shoreline. So you got all of that cover to work. So you want to use different baits, different tactics, and take advantage of that, especially where there's openings like that you see right there in the middle, where the grass is, where it's deep, where that pole is. And again, there's it's about 3 or 4 foot deep. That's why there's no grass there. So again, all of these pockets are good. And again, this is where I caught that 3-pounder. He was between underneath those trees in the shade. And I just saw another bass swim off there. So all of those points are good. Just stay back off the well off the water there. See, I'm several feet on the bank. I don't want to spook any bass that I walk up on here. So I cast out in the water first, and then I approach the bank slowly, and then start working my way deep. I'm going to throw out into the lily pads out there. I got a weedless Gambler swim bait on there, and I'm going to drag it back across that pad field into the open water, and then just reel it with a medium speed back toward me, and just let it swim right through that grass. All right, and see if a bass will follow it and nail it. All right, we'll see what happens here on this side. All right, I see another shady cove here, a little corner there between those bushes and that tree. So I wonder what's lurking up in there. See if we can find out. All right, picked up bass number 2 in the grass, bass in the grass. This one's a little bit smaller than the other one. This one about maybe a pounder here, pound and a half maybe. But right out here, right at the edge of that grass patch where it goes out into the little bit deeper water, right between the 2 grass lines. All right, just throw that swim bait out there and just dragging it through, and just letting it do its work. The Gambler paddle tail, smoke minnow, doing a good job here today. So they're getting aggressive. They're on the feed. I just saw a couple more fish near this one swimming out there, so I'm going to target that patch of grass over there. So just throwing it out there, just casting it back in the grass and sweeping that hook. All right, let's get a better look at it. Well, yeah, typical summer pattern bass, aggressively feeding. And this nice pretty bass here, healthy. Yeah, I don't know, probably spawned about a couple years ago, I would guess. Maybe a 2-year-old bass. Pretty nice. So anyway, do that all day long. This bass number 2. Try to get a couple more here before I take off. I'm getting hungry and thirsty. But it's a lot of fun when they're on the bite, you know. Yes. Anyway, good bite, and I'm going to keep it up. So again, if the morning topwater bite fails you, then you just wait, tie on your swim bait, and be patient and persistent, and it will pay off. Just remember, bass in the grass. Well, angry bass fans, as luck would have it, I got a triple header now. Bass number 3. This came about 10 minutes or so after that last catch. This is a nice one. This is kind of like that first one I caught. It's about 3 pounds. You take a look at it and pull it up here a little bit. Oh, it's a nice hefty fish, a little bit heavier than that last one. All right, so again, just throwing that Gambler smoke minnow with the gold flakes in it, doing the trick. The paddle tail, just throwing it out there as far as I can out the thin stretches of grass before they come in here. I saw some V-shapes coming in. They were chasing shad and other bait fish up near the bank, so I just threw this Gambler out there, and I'm going to give you a closer look at that bait and this fish. All right, but it's turning out to be a very good day of fishing, despite the temperature, but it's overcast sky, almost 90 degrees, a light wind, but very nice day for fishing anyway. All right, so let me pull this up here and get a better look at it. Well, as you can see, nice fish. I'm telling you, the bigger ones seem to be out in the deeper water. I wish I had a small john boat at this point where I can get out there past this flooded grass, right on the edge out there where the water line meets that grass. They seem to be hitting all out there, and a lot of the bigger ones anyway, going in between the lily pads and coming into shore. But take a look at this fish. Huh? Pretty fish. And there's a good look at that Gambler swim minnow lure, smoke. I think it's called Smoke. It's got the black top, dark top, and the gold flakes. And you notice it's got a unique little paddle tail there. It just gives a subtle action, and I'm using that to swim it through the grass a little bit. I don't want a lot high action, and I put a bullet weight on the front to get it down in the deeper water when I'm dragging it through there. Just a small bullet weight that I put on there. If you got lighter line, you know, like fluorocarbon, and you don't have a lot of weeds, I mean, you can fish it without the bullet weight, that's fine. But just get the paddle tail, and I get it. It helps me get through the grass easier and drop it down in deeper holes. But there's a fish. See, not bad. So that's number 3. Let's see if I can pick up a couple more here before I take off. All right, catch and release for bass number 3. Here we go. Swim off, baby. Nice fish. Well, this will conclude this morning's episode of the Angry Bass, or Bass in the Grass episode, I should say. They weren't angry today, but definitely hungry on the bite. So looks like the shoreline bite has faded a bit. They've gone out to deeper water. So with that, I bid them adieu and another day. But caught 3 bass here in 2.5 hours or so, and they're not bad. So again, don't be afraid to change it up. Try the swim bait bite, rig it weedless, and take at least a couple rods with you. I carry 2 today. Sometimes I take 3 with me, but you want to have different lures on there. I start off with topwater bite in the morning, where it's not so bright out, and see if I can get that topwater action with bigger bass. If they don't hit that, I just wait for the light to hit, and I start throwing the swim bait. Throw it out there as deep as I can, out far as I can, and then swim it back with a steady retrieve back to a shoreline, or I'll twitch it like an injured bait fish. Whatever works. Just experiment and give it a shot, and just be patient. You know, like I said, patience plus persistency equals payoff. And like I said, I know a lot of people like to catch bass and they don't want to get out in the hot weather, but I get out here by myself and I catch 3 of them, and they're decent sized fish. Caught 7 pounds of bass, not bad. So pretty fun. So if they don't, again, if they don't hit top water, go submersible on them, because they are underneath the water. Obviously, you're not going to lose them. So, but you just have to give them what they want and be patient. Try to mimic their bait fish, which is shad and brim and things of that nature. They'll be chasing up toward the shore, and those gambler baits, I gambled on them and I won. So very good bait from Gambler. I also use Zoom Super Flukes there as well too, but I'm out of those. But I do like the Gamblers because they throw very nice, and there seem to be a heavier plastic fill, a little bit bigger. And they've got different sizes, whether it's a big full body one, you can get the paddle tail ones like I used today to get it through the grass a little bit easier, and I like that. So good action. Use a medium. I used a medium 7-foot medium heavyweight rod, Bass Pro Shops Graphite Series. It's only $39, a bright blue, nice looking rod. It does a trick. You don't have to spend a lot of money on tackle. Believe me, I don't. So it's just all in the technique and practice. Just don't get caught up in collecting a bunch of expensive tackle that you're never going to use or perfect. You know, pretty soon I'm going to do a series of bass fishing techniques from Shoreline that I've used successfully to target and catch larger bass. Because obviously, if you don't have a boat, you got to get very creative. And over the last several years of bass fishing on the bank, I've done just that. So I'll give you a quick minute tips on what I do to save time and save baits, as well as how to change up bait when they're not biting. All right? Well, tight lines to all of you, and have a good afternoon. And till the next time, Angry Bass out.